Welcome to our general session for January 15th, 2019. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Boyce.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll need a motion for the approval of the minutes of January 8th, 2019 organizational meeting, the minutes of November 28th and December 3rd, 2018 budget hearings.
So move.
Second.
Moved and second in voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
The minutes have been approved.
Okay, the county engineer.
Resolution number 14-19. MS Consulting Incorporated Consulting Engineers appointed to assist the Franklin County engineer in performing preliminary engineering for Ferris Road between Carr Road and Westerville Road project, Franklin County, Ohio, in the amount of $98,805.
Good morning, Commissioners, and Happy New Year, with this being my first general session.
Morning. Happy New Year.
Thank you. My name is Cornell Robertson, Franklin County Engineer. With me today,
Carla Marable.
Commissioners, this first resolution is for a traffic corridor study in the northeast part of the county. It's in Clinton Township and Mifflin Township, just north of the Linden area. It's along Ferris from Carl east to Westerville Road. We're recommending a preliminary engineering contract with MS Consultants, and we utilize the qualifications-based selection process.
So move to pass 14-19.
Second.
Moved and second in voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 14-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 15-19. Resolution authorizing the Franklin County engineer to enter into a contract modification with Ohio Structures Incorporated for the Trayview Road 7.85 over Norfolk Southern Railroad beams and bearings project at an increased amount of $6,460.30.
As stated, this is a contract modification resolution with Ohio Structures. This is for the capital improvement project of Trayview Road over Norfolk Southern. The contract modification is for bearings and beams that need to be thicker, in particular the bearings.
Okay. No questions. Move for passage of 15-19.
Second.
Moved and second in voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 15-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 16-19. Report second of the Franklin County engineer establishing sums of compensation for a portion of the owners of property abutting the Norton Road at Johnson Road Improvement, Prairie Township, and Pleasant Township, Franklin County, Ohio, in the amount of $55,683.
Commissioners, as stated, this resolution is for the capital improvement project in the southwest part of the county. It's on the line between Prairie Township and Pleasant Township at the intersection of Norton and Johnson, where we're designing a single lane roundabout. This particular resolution is for right-of-way acquisition, includes 3 properties, and those appraisals were based on fair market value.
If there are no comments or questions, move for passage of 16-19.
Second.
Moved and second in voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 16-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 17-19. Report first of the Franklin County engineer establishing sums of compensation for a portion of the owners of property abutting the Havens Corners Road, County Road number 16 at Morrison Farms East Drive Improvement, Jefferson Township, Franklin County, Ohio, in the amount of $28,237.
Commissioners, this next resolution seeks compensation for property owners abutting the Havens Corners Road and Morrison Farms East Drive Improvement Project. The project is located in the northeast portion of the county in Jefferson Township and will widen a portion of Havens Corners Road. We negotiated with the property owners. Compensation was based on appraised fair market value.
If there are no comments or questions, move for passage of 7-19.
17.
I'm sorry, 17-19.
Second.
Moved in second in voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 17-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 18-19. Resolution authorizing a settlement to Columbia Gas NiSource for a utility damage claim due to an equipment accident involving a Franklin County Engineers Office employee in amount of $1,207.59.
Commissioners, while performing a drainage pipe installation in the right-of-way, an FCO employee operating a backhoe struck and severed a Columbia Gas NiSource gas utility line. There were no injuries reported, and we've worked closely with the prosecutor's office, and they have approved the settlement. The prosecutors have recommended the settlement in the amount of $1,207.59.
If there are no comments or questions, move for passage of 18-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded in voting, Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 18-19 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Sheriff's Office.
Resolution number 19-19. Resolution authorizing a contract with Com Products Incorporated, doing business as BNC Communications, for the provision of maintenance and repair of fixed, mobile, and portable radio equipment in the amount of $220,544.40.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dave Masterson, Director of Administrative Services for Sheriff Baldwin. This resolution authorizes a 2-year contract through January 15th, 2021 with BNC Communications for the maintenance and repair of Sheriff's Office radio equipment. In addition to the initial 2-year period, there's an option to extend the contract for 3 additional 1-year periods under the same terms and conditions if agreed upon by both parties. The contract was competitively bid in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, and pending any questions, I ask approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for passage of 19-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded in voting, Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 19-19 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board of Elections.
Resolution number 20-19, authorizing participation in a sublease purchase arrangement with the Ohio Secretary of State for the purpose of acquiring and implementing voting machines and equipment and financing certain costs thereof, a sublease purchase agreement evidencing such arrangement and matters related thereto.
Good morning, Commissioners. As you know, Franklin County is receiving over $10,342,000 from the state of Ohio for the purchase of the new equipment. And the financing method that the state of Ohio is using requires that the state of Ohio legally own the machines for the 10-year life of the financing. So the resolution before you today is to approve the sublease agreement with the Secretary of State's office. It's that sublease agreement that is the method for transferring legal ownership of the voting machines to the state of Ohio. All Ohio counties that are going to be purchasing new voting machines through the state funding will be signing the sublease agreement identical to the sublease agreement before you today. The sublease agreement was drafted by lawyers from the Department of Administrative Services as well as lawyers from the Secretary of State's office. The sublease has been reviewed by our prosecutor's office as well as county prosecutors throughout the state. A couple of substantive changes were recommended by our county prosecutor and the Hamilton County prosecutor. Those changes were made, incorporated in the agreement that you have in front of you today. So pursuant to the lease agreement, upon acceptance and delivery and acceptance of the equipment, the legal ownership will transfer to the state of Ohio for the duration of the 10-year duration of the financing, and then Franklin County will remain responsible for implementation, storage, operation, maintenance of all the equipment during its lifetime. And then when the state's financing is paid in full, the ownership, the legal ownership will transfer to the county at that time. But the physical, practical ownership and responsibility for maintaining the equipment will be with Franklin County the entire time. And so pending any questions, I respectfully request approval of the resolution.
So Ed, I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. So the Secretary of State's office is giving us $10 million for the purchase of this equipment.
State of Ohio.
The state of Ohio.
But the Secretary of State is
Legislature.
the entity that's responsible for the
Yeah.
management of the fund.
The legislature and coming through the Secretary of State. So a little over, it's 10 or a little over $10 million?
$10,342,000 and
Change.
change. So,
All right, and so, and we are, the Franklin County is expending dollars beyond that.
correct.
And how much is that?
There'll be an additional approximately $2 million this year, but and then approximately $2 million next year for new equipment. The money that will be spent this year are not voting equipment, but they're the ancillary equipment that we would need to buy in order to help implement the system. But it's not voting equipment. It would be transport carts or additional electronic poll pads if we need those, that type of equipment, but not necessarily voting machines.
Okay, good. And then, and then if you could explain to the public and others, so this is a hybrid system, voting machines and paper, and if you could explain that a little
Certainly.
bit.
And that kind of gets me to the second resolution as well, but in that, again, this is the culmination of a 2-year process. We've done evaluation. The bipartisan evaluation teams at the Board of Elections have worked to identify what we were going to be looking for in the new system, and then actually attending demonstrations throughout the state. There were multi-vendor demonstrations. We actually conducted a multi-vendor demonstration where all the state certified, all 5 Ohio state certified vendors were invited, participated. Our staff got a chance to look at them, our evaluation teams. Public was invited. I know some members of your staff joined us as well, and I think some of the commissioners were able to make it up to our on-site demonstration. We've actually had individual vendors come in one by one and do demonstrations of their systems. We've escorted teams from League of Women Voters, some of our disability advocacy groups, and our senior citizen groups to get input from that as well. And really the system that we've decided and recommended is a hybrid system. So what it will do is it'll give voters both the option of voting on paper if they're more comfortable with that, and many of our absentee voters are familiar with voting on an optical scan paper ballot, but they'll also have the opportunity to, if they want to continue voting on a touchscreen electronic system. And quite honestly, when it came to some of our senior citizen groups and our disability advocacy groups, they really liked that hybrid system because the electronic component of it, being use a touchscreen, it had far more user-friendly capabilities for those with disabilities to cast their ballot like any other voter, that they weren't, their ballot isn't segregated or distinguished differently than somebody who's not disabled.
So it's safe to say that this is going to look different than the voting that's been going on for the last 13 years on the machines that we've had since 2005.
Yes, but that was one of the things too, though, is the benefit of this system is also its familiarity because it is a touchscreen. So there'll be different aspects of it that will be new for voters, but then there'll also be aspects of it. And again, so there is new things that voters are going to have to be prepared for when they get into the polling location.
All right, and so. And what is the expected voter turnout in the May primary? You guesstimate.
Ooh, always dangerous to do those.
Pretty low though.
That would likely be, when you look at historical.
In an off year.
In an off year, it's a
municipal election.
Usually somewhere in the neighborhood of the low double digits. Anywhere from maybe 8, 9 to 15%.
And then what about in the fall of a municipal election?
That might get over 20%, between 20 and 30%.
Pretty low though.
But still pretty low.
And then in 2020, we'll be heading into a presidential election where, in a primary, especially in a contested Democratic primary, where at this point we're looking at potentially 30 Democratic candidates at this point. We're talking about a pretty high voter turnout in the Democratic primary, and then in the fall, traditionally there's always a very high turnout in the general election in a presidential year.
Correct.
With
Usually around 70%.
With brand new voting machines.
Correct.
I guess what you see where I'm getting at is that voter education on brand new machines. When we have these brand new machines, never been used, we've had the same voting machines for 13 years. Now we have brand new machines that the public's never seen.
Right.
We're going to have low voter turnout in 2019.
Wait a minute, I want to challenge that statement. There is no
Off-year
off-year
election.
election.
Well, that's true.
And
That's
you
true.
know
I-
that.
That's
There
true.
are
I
local-
apologize.
Local
I
year.
apologize.
Local year
I
elections is what we call
apologize.
them.
A local
Wait a
year.
minute.
A local
You
year
knew I was
election.
gonna say that.
A
I
local
know
year.
you did.
I've incensed my colleague. I apologize. You are correct. Not an off-year election, a local year election.
Thank you.
a low voter turnout year election, where we're going to have either single or low double-digit primary numbers, and then maybe in the 20s in the general election this year. So the point is, we're going to be heading into a very large voter turnout in 2020 in the primary and in the general election, massive voter turnout, and then we're going to have tested these things in 2019, where almost nobody will have come out to see them. And, we've had very little voter education in terms of a test run
Right.
on these things. I'm just, I guess, my point being, this is a, case in point for the strong need for voter education.
Absolutely. And we've recognized that
Advertisement for that voter education.
Right. And we've recognized that this education process is going to be, a 2-year process or more, because of the fact that there'll be a lot of voters who don't traditionally vote in a local year election who will not see those machines. And so we're working on that education component of it so that we can educate voters, not just this year, but also looking at next year as well.
In one of the top, fastest growing counties in the state, with the largest number of students, college students in the state, certainly in the state, if not in the country, where we've got a huge number of people who need to be educated, just.
And I think also from an operational standpoint, so that, yes, there's a certain degree of intuitive nature about it, but we want to make sure that voters know when they walk into the polls that they're going to have a choice to make. They're going to have to choose whether they want to vote on paper or vote on a machine that they're familiar with. And then once they make those selections on their ballot, whether that's a paper ballot or a machine ballot, and then they have to take that ballot to a scanner and put it in the scanner. And so we want to make sure that those voters know those steps, so that there's not confusion that might create those lines on election day. Again, we've looked at the system because it is it's easy to use, but we also want to make sure that voters know how easy it is to use and they're comfortable with it, so that it is the quick process we anticipate it will be.
Thank you.
So, and also, again, throughout, with regard to the resolutions and with regard to the contracts, I do want to extend my thanks to your staff. I'll save that for when we address the specific resolution regarding the contract.
Thank you, Ed.
So I guess I got just one question, two in one. You had mentioned that the sublease agreement, there were a couple of issues that you felt were substantive that both Franklin County and Hamilton County had addressed within the agreement. Can you just talk about those in a nutshell, what they were?
Indemnification was the primary one. There was one, a small substantive change about when they would legally transfer. It wouldn't be just on delivery, it would be on delivery and once we accept those. But the bigger one was the indemnification. There was language in there that we would be indemnifying the state if on any potential action, and it's clear that we can't do that. And so once that was made clear to the Secretary of State's office, the contract was modified to reflect that.
All right. There are no further comments or questions. Move for passage of 20-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 20-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 21-19, resolution authorizing the purchase of new voting equipment from election systems and software in the amount of $12,435,843.
Again, Commissioners, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, this really is the culmination of about 2 years' worth of work of the staffs and getting that input from the public. And we appreciated the input we got from the Commissioners as well. It led us to having videos out on the website that got us some feedback from the public, so that those who couldn't make it to our mock elections were able to give feedback on the voting systems. We, as I said, we had the mock elections, which allowed voters to come in and test the systems. And so all of that feedback really led us to this hybrid method where voters will have that option. Again, but we've gotten positive feedback from some of the advocacy groups in the community. It'll allow us from a management perspective to be better able to manage the multitude of ballot styles. People don't really recognize, for a county of our size, the number of ballot style combinations based on House, Senate, congressional, school districts, townships. I mean, there are so many different combinations. In fact, we're well over 1,100, 1,400 in a basic election, and then multiply that by the number of parties in a primary, and now suddenly you've got thousands of ballot style combinations, and will allow us to better manage that. It allows us also with the SNS, we've been working with the SNS, we'll be able to capitalize on the relationship that we have with them, the investment the county has already made in about almost $500,000 worth of high-speed scanners that we have. And then again, I think the hybrid method will allow us greater flexibility in the future. And from a fiscal standpoint, we're actually, when it comes to the total cost of equipment that we're buying, number one, the $10 million that we're buying this year is all with state funds, but the new cost, or the cost of the new equipment, is actually lower than the cost of the equipment that we purchased 12 years ago. And over the course of the negotiations for this equipment, we've actually been able to attain discounts as well as price reductions in the equipment over the course of the negotiations with the vendors, to be in a position where we've actually been able to accrue over $3 million worth of savings in terms of discounts on, because all of the equipment that we're getting this year that's not being paid for by state dollars, that is essentially being given to us in trade-in for our old equipment, which really isn't worth anything. So essentially we're getting about $1.7 million in free scanners and other ancillary equipment that helps with the aiding those with disabilities to cast their ballot. And then in addition to the price, then you add that plus the price discounts that we've been able to see over the course of our negotiations, put us in a position where we're essentially saved this county $3 million. And then, like I said, I think we get a good system that provides flexibility for the voters and security. And again, it is a good story that we have to tell because of all the work that's gone into it. And I do want to extend my thanks to your purchasing team, particularly Carl Cuspert and Megan Bellinier, as well as Harold Anderson from the prosecutor's office, and then your finance team, Zach Telerik and Ken Wilson, Gary Collins. They've all been very helpful in us getting to this point. So again, and barring any questions or comments, I'd respectfully request approval of the resolution.
The only thing I'd add is I want to thank the state of Ohio. I mean, I think it's important that you have the different branches of government working together and sort of supporting one another in what is probably one of the most important aspects of our democracy, at least one of the most important of the aspects of our democracy. I mean, this is a significant investment from the state of Ohio, and we're greatly appreciative, and it will, I think, be well worth it with regards to the participation that our citizens get to have from up-to-date equipment. So if there are no further comments or questions, move for passage 21-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded in voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 21-19 has been adopted.
And I encourage any organization out there in the community that would like us to come out and demonstrate the new machines to reach out to the Board of Elections, and we'll be happy to come out and show. We're excited about showing off our new equipment. So
That's great.
thank you, Commissioners.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Purchasing.
Resolution number 22-19, resolution authorizing contracts with 33 vendors for consolidated county transportation services in the amount of $10,125,000.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead, Nick.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Perry Balnier, Assistant Director of Purchasing. Our first resolution this morning requests your approval of 33 contracts to individual providers for the provision of lift, non-lift, and escort transportation services. The Franklin County Office on Aging, the Department of Job and Family Services, and the Veterans Service Commission each contract to provide these services to their respective clients. Historically, the county has initiated separate competitive procurements for these agencies. This past year, the county took a new approach, the goal of which was to develop a combined specification, which would allow the county to consolidate these procurements into a single bid, resulting in each awarded provider receiving one contract. To support our outreach to the transportation community, advertising was expanded to include Ohio MBE, 2 separate pre-bid meetings were held, and over 150 vendors received an individual notification that the bid was available. On October 30th, we received 35 bids, and after bid review, 33 of these bids were found to be responsive to all requirements and therefore eligible for award. Of the 33 contracts, 20 are with providers who are small and emerging business enterprises, which is 60%. All providers are located in Central Ohio. During briefing, I had presented that the contracts had an initial term of 3 years with 2 optional 1-year extensions. I'd like to clarify that the correct term is an initial term of 3 years with 1 optional 2-year extension.
Great.
With this consolidation, we anticipate there to be benefits recognized by both providers and the county. These include an easier bidding process and more efficient contract administration for providers, contract management and administrative efficiencies for county agencies, a larger provider network for each county agency, as well as the potential for providers to expand their services with multiple agencies. And through a new joint contract monitoring effort, county agencies have the opportunity to enhance communication and response time, both internally as well as with our provider partners. Once again, before I wrap up, I want to extend a very sincere thank you to our agency committee partners whose dedication and collaboration made it possible for us to get to this point. It's sincerely appreciated. And so with that, pending any questions, we respectfully request approval.
This has been a long time in coming, and I want to thank you and the agencies that worked on this. This is really an important advancement in our contracting, and thank you both for doing this, and thank you to the agencies and their staff for working on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no further comments or questions, move for passage of 22-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 22-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 23-19. Resolution approving purchases for various Franklin County agencies in the amount of $36,364,144.87.
Good morning, Commissioners. Clark Huesmer, Director of Purchasing. As I explained in the previous 2 weeks, the agencies have to open new purchase orders to encumber funds to pay for their goods and services needed this fiscal year. Consequently, the next few weeks, the dollar value and volume of purchase orders will be unusually high. The resolution before you requests your approval of 1,123 purchase orders. These purchase orders have been pre-certified as availability funds by the county auditor. If any questions, I recommend their approval.
If there are no comments or questions, move for passage of 23-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 23-19 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Board of Commissioner resolutions, and we do have a speaker on the first resolution.
Resolution number 24-19, resolution authorizing appropriation adjustments for providing salary and wage increases to non-bargaining employees.
Okay, before we get into the resolution, I would like to invite our speaker, Ruth Jarvis, to come on up. And before you speak, let me just review what our rules for public comment are. And first, I want to welcome you and thank you for coming in today. We know you filled out the forms. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and we'll have somebody keep the time. Please speak on the agenda item, and no obscenities, no commercial advertising, defamation, slander. Make sure that you stick to the resolution that you're on topic, and thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the fact that you've let me come in today to speak to you about this topic. My name is Ruth Jarvis, and I am a member of the BREAD organization. I am glad that the commissioners are making decisions today on this issue. I receive SSI and SSD. I live in a safe, decent neighborhood that I really love in Reynoldsburg, but the rent is too high. But by the end of the month, I only have $8 left in my checking account after paying housing, and without food stamps, I wouldn't be able to afford food. And I tried to get a job in order to support myself. And then, but I found out that I could lose all my benefits. And that isn't right. I'm 50-some years old, and, you know, I'm getting older, not younger. So, but it's like it's time to look at this seriously and to say something, to do something, that can help people like myself that will be able to afford safe, decent housing. There are not enough solutions in place to affect the 54,000 low-income households targeted by the Affordable Housing Alliance of Central Ohio. Bread pushed very hard to get the Affordable Housing Trust Fund set up. This fund supports working households, seniors, and seniors and special needs populations. Sorry about my reading. Increasing the conveyance fee could lead to millions of additional dollars per year to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And my question is today, when will this fee be increased? And it's like I've lived like this for a long time, and, you know, I'm way too much in a one-bedroom apartment. I mean, so I appreciate you hearing me today, and if any questions, we'd like to meet with you on those questions.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you for speaking.
Thank you.
Well, we have been meeting on this topic and discussing this topic for some time. We have been considering raising the conveyance fee for some time, and I believe that we have been putting a game plan in place. So I would expect that there will be some action on this topic in the not too distant future. So. But in terms of a date, I don't know that we have a date set in terms of when. I know that but I know that this is something that's been in the works.
We're aware of the issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
So thank you.
Okay. So that would be, you're talking within this year, probably, or?
I believe so. This is something we've been planning for some time, yeah.
Okay.
Kenneth Wilson, County Administrator, President Brown, Commissioner O'Grady, Commissioner Boyce. Yes, administratively, the county staff has been working on a comprehensive affordable housing update to bring to the board that is being spearheaded through our Economic Development and Planning Department. Deputy Administrator Eric Janis, who leads that agency reports to, has been working along with that team. But we want to bring something forward to you all. We haven't determined a date. We anticipate that it would be this year. We're working also, staying in communications with our partners at City Hall, the City of Columbus. We are looking to partner with them, as was reported in today's newspaper, for a land trust.
Yeah, they passed a bond last night, correct?
They passed to go to the ballot.
To go to the ballot,
for $50 million.
For the city.
Yeah.
Yes. We are keenly aware that in spite of our investments in the Affordable Housing Trust and the Community Shelter Board, that there is a 54,000 unit gap, and we've been in communications over time with members of the Housing Alliance. So it is one of our top priorities, but we need to bring something forward to the Board of Commissioners that is comprehensive in nature to add in addition to what we will bring forward. It would have multiple pieces to solve this very complex problem. It just won't consist of an increase in the conveyance fee, because that alone will not be enough to solve this problem.
And I think that's key in the use of the word comprehensive and a comprehensive approach to this issue.
Yes, yes.
It's not just adding units of housing, it is a comprehensive approach
Yes.
to the issue
Yes.
of what we need to do in the
Yes.
community. And we're looking at all options
Yes.
to provide a comprehensive
Yes.
approach.
That's good. Yes.
I'd just say that, first, Mr. George, I want to thank you for coming down and taking the time to be with us today. I know it's not easy to park and get up here and that kind of thing. And so when you show up, that just lets us know how passionate you are about this
Yes.
topic. And so thank you. I do want to say that I don't want you to mistake what I'm about to say, but I am, and I don't want to speak for my colleagues either. I'm speaking for myself. I would say that raising any type of fee, whether it's tax or fee, is something that deserves a real drill down and analysis of if that the right thing, because there's an opposite effect. That someone's paying more to purchase a house, or someone's paying more to sell a house, or there are all kinds of impacts of that. And raising the conveyance fee, I'm uncertain at this point if that will help us address our housing shortage. And so we've got to connect the dots. And I think the Administrator Wilson said it best when he said, we're looking at a comprehensive plan and approach to this topic and issue. And that's what I'm more interested in. And so the conveyance fee, I just want to throw out there because we get requests every day about raising the conveyance fee and what to do with that money. And so I just think that I've said I'm a little skeptical of just raising fees, and we've had to do things and make adjustments already since I've been here, and we've tried to take the real time to see how that would affect the public and, more importantly, what they'll get out of it. And so I think when those dots are connected, because I don't want to I don't want you to leave here with the presumption that we're going to pass a conveyance fee at some point, increase, and then that's the solution. And this is really a drill down. And finally, I'll say that, there are, what we're learning about living affordably in Central Ohio is that there are multiple pieces of it. It's not just the housing itself, but the transportation that goes with it, and all the other things, a good paying job, a good, all those things. And so we're thinking about that as Franklin County, and that work is going to take a little more time. I do appreciate Brett's long-term advocacy of these issues, and Brett has been very helpful in helping us think through some of these things. And so we'll continue to work together. But just know that we're on the same page about what the challenge is, how to address it is where we're really trying to come up with the right answers and resolve. So thank you for your input today, and we'll continue at it.
And
Okay,
Commissioner Boyce, when you talk about the comprehensive nature of the plan, I mean, it's one thing to increase the conveyance fee. It's another thing when you have to consider to what end. We've been meeting with the Affordable Housing Alliance for some time. Their initial plans we weren't in agreement on, and so I mean that was a component of this as well. When they first came and we first sat down to begin to address this issue, we were at odds about, we weren't at odds about the problem. We were at odds about how to address the problem. We were at odds about what the plans were to close that gap, and how to not in terms of the finances or the dollars around it, but what the plan was to close that gap, and how to do that. And so so coming up with the money is one part of the problem, but then what's the plan and how to address that shortage is another part of the problem. And so
yes.
we've been meeting to discuss that throughout this course of time as well.
Yeah.
And so that we can be on the same page about how to expend those dollars and what those dollars will go for as well. And so I think that's part of what Administrator Wilson talks about when he talks about a comprehensive plan.
Yeah, and another thing too is that to be able to work and make a living for yourself, and still, when you're on a disability like me, where I have to be on SSI and SSD because of not able to work.
Right.
Well,
And
those,
so it would be nice to be able to get a job and still have the benefits to, to keep afloat.
Sure.
those issues, frankly, are also part of the conversations that we're having with our steering committee, that we'll be meeting with this afternoon.
And that issue that you raise is not all within our control, is really a federal issue of the benefits cliff and how people are impacted by working a certain number of hours that kicks the benefits out of whack.
Right.
And that's clearly an issue that we are well aware of, and it's unfortunate, and we need to have a way to solve the issues that surround that, and how people are affected by decisions that are well beyond local government.
Yeah.
But we need to work with the communities to see what we can do.
Yes.
So thank you for coming.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. We'll be in
Sure.
touch.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Zach, to you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Zach Tlarik with the Office of Management and Budget. Resolution 24-19 would provide appropriation adjustments for providing salary and wage increases to non-bargaining employees. The appropriation includes a transfer of $3.2 million that was set aside in general fund for the various offices, as well as supplemental appropriations of just over $4 million. Pending any questions, would ask for your approval of this resolution.
So I got a question. So on some of the levy-funded agencies that are on here, so how does that work? Is that general fund, or does that just come out of their saying? Why is it in one resolution?
The supplemental appropriation would be out of their specific levy fund, and that would apply to the other agencies that have sort of non-general fund resources. Is we do look at the resources within the fund to make sure that there are significant resources to make the appropriation adjustment. In some cases, if it's a grant fund that an agency or court isn't able to absorb, we assign that to their general fund appropriation.
Got you. Okay, thank you. If there are no further comments or questions, move for passage of 24-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded in voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 24-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 25-19, resolution reconciling 2019 non-general fund appropriations to align with the amended certificate of estimated resources.
Commissioners, this resolution would provide for a decrease of appropriations of two funds, as well as supplemental appropriations for Adam H. and PFM. For Adam H., it's a consolidation of various grant funds. For PFM, related to capital projects. This is a result of the beginning of the year fund balances differing from the estimates that were in the annual appropriation measure approved on December 18th. Pending any questions, would ask your approval of this resolution.
Great. If there are no comments or questions, move for passage of 25-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded in voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 25-19 has been adopted.
Okay, Antoine, do we have journalizations?
There's one, Commissioner. The Board of Commissioners Committee assignments for 2019. For Commissioner O'Grady, he is be appointed to the Central Ohio Community Improvement Corporation with the alternate of Eric Wagenbrenner. The Franklin County Emergency Management Agency with the alternate Eric Janis. Franklin County Investment Advisory Board, alternate Eric Janis. Franklin County Planning Commission, alternate Annie Reisner. Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, Franklin County Data Board with alternate Adam Lookout and Zach Telerik, Franklin County Family and Children First Council with the alternate Kevin Pangrace, and Franklin County Microfilming Board with the alternate of Antoine Booker. Under Commissioner Brown, the Central Ohio Community Improvement Corporation with the alternate of James Shimmer, Franklin County Emergency Management Agency with the alternate Michael Hockren, Franklin County Investment Advisory Board with the alternate Kenneth Wilson, Franklin County Planning Commission, alternate Nancy White, Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, Central Ohio Communication Advisory Board, alternate Cecilia Werrick, Franklin County Enhanced 911 Board, Franklin County Criminal Justice Planning Board, Community Corrections Board, alternate Michael Hockren, Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio, alternate Eric Janis, and under Commissioner Boyce, Central Ohio Community Improvement Corporation with the alternate Tamara Howard, Franklin County Emergency Management Agency, alternate Kenneth Wilson, Franklin County Investment Advisory Board, alternate Zach Telerik, Franklin County Planning Commission, alternate Tamara Howard, Jessica Sullivan, Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, Franklin County Records Commission, Chemical Emergency Preparedness Advisory Council, Board of Revision with alternates Chris Long, Rob Basati, Jamie Riley, and Tamara Howard, Public Works Integrating Committee, alternate Eric Janis. And that is all, Commissioner.
Thank you. If we have no further business, we are adjourned. See you next week.